This is the land of the free and the home of the brave, Donald Trump, in case you forgot, and our veterans want you gone. I'm Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. This is a special, emergency, exciting live episode of Lights On I'm going to be really transparent with you, to do some fundraising for this massive event that we are putting on Friday on the National Mall. If you watch Lights On, you know what we're doing. We're having a massive rally of veterans and everyone in this country who is coming out to reclaim the power of the people, to stand for the sacrifices that have been made for freedom, and demand that this illegal presidency be taken out of power. It is a coalition of so many amazing forces that have come together, from veterans to union leaders to legal activists, constitutional scholars, artists, faith leaders. It is an extremely expensive venture. We have a lot of equipment we have to pay for, from cameras and sound equipment to generators, porta potties, you name it. We need your financial support. You can do that at nowmarch.org, nowmarch.org. The link is in the description below as well. And we have two very, very special guests joining us today. One of them, if you've watched Lights On, he's been here before. He is one of our 14th now founding organizers. Comedian Cliff Cash is coming on in a little bit here. And my first guest, I'm really excited to introduce him to you. He is a Rolling Stones contributor, put a new piece out just today called "We Went to War, Came Home, and Achieved the American Dream. Billionaires Are Stealing It." And he is also a veteran himself of the Navy, former VA advisor. Really a pleasure to meet him and welcome him to Lights On. Michael Embrich, welcome to Lights On.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me this evening.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. So let's just start off. Tell me how you feel about what Donald Trump and Elon Musk in this administration is attempting to do to veterans.
Well, here in a very short amount of time, they've undone a tremendous amount of work that kind of started with the Obama administration, and making sure that post 9/11 veterans can succeed and thrive in life. President Obama started it with the Zero Homelessness Initiative. It was an incredibly successful program. And now recently in 2024, we've seen the lowest homeless rates of veterans ever. But Elon Musk, at the behest of Donald Trump, has come into power and is undoing that all in the last 5 weeks. Number one, by saying that we need to streamline government and cut spending to save some kind of money in a $7 trillion budget. I don't know how firing federal employees and veterans, which if you fired all of them would only save you about 300 billion with a B, and you'd need about 6 more trillion and some change to go along with that to have any real savings. But we do know that Trump is pushing to extend his 2017 tax cuts, 1.4 trillion in tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans like Elon Musk, who is slated, by the way, to become the world's first trillionaire, the first known trillionaire. There's probably
what a sick, by the way, Michael, what a sick joke that this man, this unelected billionaire, has hijacked our federal agencies in the name of cutting waste and abuse. Isn't it a sick insult to think that even, especially our brave service members would fall for that?
I mean, it's incredibly insane to me that this man woke up one day and thought he was the only one that had the idea that there was waste in government. There's the GAO, there's the inspector generals, there's all these backstops. I mean, I was a government purchase card holder. They would make you jump through hoops to spend a nickel. I had to take fiscal law classes. I mean, hours and hours and hours of days of my time just to get a government purchase card that I didn't even use because it was so hard to use it. But yeah, this guy pays people to play video games for him, and now all of a sudden he's the authority on fiscal responsibility. Give me a break. I mean, you couldn't make this up. If you saw this in a movie, you'd think it was fiction, but here we are living it in 2024 and 2025 now.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we have a constitution that protects us from this insanity. You know, as I've shared with you on our call when we were talking about, getting you set up to speak on Friday, which I'm so excited about, that the movement behind this 14th now is predicated on the fact that Donald Trump is constitutionally disqualified from office. He does not even have a legal authority to be there. When you think of all the sacrifices that were made for this country to get us to this point, as flawed as we still are in pursuit of that perfect union, I mean, just to zoom out, it's really unthinkable the point that we are at, is it not?
It is, and I mean, veterans have dedicated their lives. They've uprooted their family. They've gone overseas. They've seen their friends die, only to come home and be rewarded by the government with generous GI Bill benefits and health care. And by the way, there's a million veterans, over a million veterans, who have no health care, who rely on Medicaid, which they're also going to cut. They came home, they made good, they went to college, they got government jobs. And by the way, the federal government doesn't just hire anybody. People just don't jump off the turnip truck and get hired by the federal government. These are skilled people who had jobs like maintaining our nuclear stockpiles, securing classified information, maintaining very complex weapon systems that go over to the federal side. And the double slap in the face is, and it seems like the slap in the face for veterans hasn't ended since Trump took office in January, is that they want to fire 80,000 veterans from the Department of Veterans Affairs, which essentially makes the VA defunct and unusable. I mean, how do you run a government organization with 80,000 employees gone? And that's by design. They want to privatize the VA. The VA has been an incredibly successful private healthcare company or private healthcare entity that has served Americans in times of crisis, like in COVID, and served veterans in times of war and peace. And it makes socialized medicine look quite good to Americans, and they want that gone. And they don't care if veterans get hurt.
Well, Michael, we have veterans who are speaking out and letting us know that they are going to be showing up en masse on Friday. I will remind everyone you can support all of the infrastructure, the very expensive costs that are going to go into this event by going to nowmarch.org. Nowmarch.org. The QR code is on your screen. You can also click the link in the description. Our wonderful moderators have been putting it in the live chat there. Nowmarch.org. You can support those efforts and make sure we put on an extraordinary event. We've got you, Michael, speaking. We've got a number of other veterans, some actually really historic figures speaking for us. So I'm really excited about everyone who's going to be there on Friday. It's interesting. I was just reading in the background that Rolling Stone piece you wrote today, and remembering that you and I know a lot more than a lot of people about what happened in Trump's first term in the VA. David Shulkin wrote a whole book about how it shouldn't be that hard to serve your country. This was a Trump appointee who was confirmed unanimously by the Senate and went in to meet Trump's lackeys, political hack jobs, who literally tried to destroy the VA in the first term. I knew some of these people very personally from my work with them, on my misled work with them on the Trump campaign in 2016. In that first term, the GI bills were, do you remember this? When the GI bills didn't go through, there was a hold on them, and they had all these political hack jobs trying to sabotage David Shulkin. There were so many things then that went wrong. And now I just think we are in such a dangerous territory with, as you mentioned, these massive, massive cuts happening that are just going to be absolutely devastating for veterans.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the main difference between the last Trump administration and this Trump administration is that there was a firewall there. There were career government people like Secretary Shulkin, who was appointed, was an Obama appointee and then a Trump appointee, who was there to keep the government together. And Trump and his cronies, particularly Stephen Miller, they learned from their mistakes. And now what they're trying to do is gut government so there's no protection between us, the civilians on the ground, and the people who want to destroy the government. So the veterans are the first line of defense. If you look at any despotic leader anywhere in the world, from South America to Russia, to now it's happening here in the United States, Stalin was famous for this. Purge the generals, get rid of the veterans first, because they're going to be the first ones that are going to stand for the Constitution. They're not going to be loyal to a party leader. They're going to be loyal to the Constitution. So you get rid of them first, you dismantle the military, And then you go after the Congress and the Senate and the judges, which Trump's doing a lot of now. And before you know it, you didn't realize it, but now you no longer have a functioning democracy. And that's where we're headed. And that's why it's so important that Trump be stopped now. We can't wait till the 2026 midterms. We just can't wait. And by the way, Trump has proven not one iota that he'll obey court orders. You think he's going to obey subpoenas from the Congress? What's Congress going to do to him? I mean, that's even if they win the majority, which in this political day and age, that's not a given. That's not guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned Stalin, because this is 100% the authoritarian playbook. And you are so right, Michael. There's so many enablers, from the legislative enablers to the judges that do not go as far as they need to in restraining his illegal behavior, to the lawyers that are making arguments for him. I've been I just got off the show with Dino Badala, and him and I were discussing the lawyers and the enablers of Hitler's that were eventually hanged at Nuremberg. I mean, it should be a lesson to anybody standing by Trump right now. This doesn't end well for you. Like, take your stand now, get out while you can. We're welcoming everybody on March 14th. So if any cabinet officials want to take their side with us, good time to jump ship. Good time to jump ship. This doesn't end well for you, my friends. But my goodness, it is extremely, extremely serious. I wanted to get your thoughts on something that happened over the weekend that has been reported extensively today. This is the story of, I'm going to put his picture up on the screen, the story of Mahmoud Khalil. He is this Palestinian protester, peaceful Palestinian protester who led protests at Columbia University. ICE showed up at his apartment in New York this weekend with him and his pregnant wife, detained him, took him to an undisclosed location, is trying to revoke his green card and claim that he is in violation of this really authoritarian 101 executive order by Trump, claiming that they can designate anti-Semitic, quote unquote, anti-Semitic protesters as terrorists and treat them as such and deport them. Obviously an attempt to chill, and this is an attempt to chill free speech, to make people afraid, to use this young man as an example. I really, really hope that there is an enormous amount of both legal and public support for him. And thank God, at least right now, a judge has temporarily blocked his deportation. But when you see things like this, authoritarian playbook 101, what is your response, especially when you're going to be joining us on Friday for this very massive, fearless, peaceful but fearless protest?
Yeah, and that's why I think we need veteran voices speaking, because we see this kind of behavior overseas. We've seen it in Iraq with Saddam Hussein purging his political enemies. Obviously, I said we've seen Stalin do stuff like this. Yeah, I mean, this guy was here legally on a green card. He has totally First Amendment rights, protected speech to protest at Columbia University. I'm sure if he had $5 million to pay for a Trump gold card, they wouldn't have a problem with him protesting anything. But I mean, that's the bottom line with these guys. They only care about money and power. And if you try to get in the way of either of those things, they're going to try to get rid of you. They learned from their first term. You can't let these kind of things linger on. Like you said, authoritarian playbook 101, how democracies die. This is how the strong men do it. And Trump has learned his lesson. And that is the scariest part of this. I wasn't sure how Trump was going to come into this second term, but and I'm an expert and I pay attention to this kind of stuff. But with the speed and precision and the legal arguments that they had, contrasted to his first term, where his executive orders were long form tweets, and the advent of ChatGPT might have something to do with why his language is a little better. But they're certainly more prepared than they were last time to dismantle democracy and break the law as much as they can by creating executive orders that usurp the Congress's power. And oh, by the way, Republicans, if you don't wake up and defend your power as a congressman, you might not have it anymore. You might turn around one day and you've given everything to Donald Trump, and he might take your authority to give money to the causes that support your districts. We used to live in a country where the district came first, and now it's Trump first and then everything else, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, you called out the Republicans. I'm going to call out the Democrats too, because
there's a lot of blame.
Yeah, right now we've got like precisely one member of Congress doing what needs to be done, and that's Representative Al Green. Like the rest of them, I'm like, what the hell? Where are you? Yeah, you can give speeches, you know, and my audience knows this all the time. I'm calling out the popular Dems who we all love, but right now the speeches are not going to cut it. We need action to match it. They should have exited that chamber of Congress with Al Green when he was escorted out. They should all be backing articles of impeachment or any and all constitutional means. Extreme, maybe. Radical, maybe. But to meet the moment of the extreme, radical, illegal, unconstitutional acts that are being taken by Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
So one of my members here, Mikey Sherrill, didn't even show up, so I'll give her points for that.
Good for her.
I think the leadership in the Democratic Party, I think their strategy is now is let it burn. You know, we lost the election. We don't really have any authority to do anything. Just let it burn, because that'll be a bigger victory in 2026. And I'm not 100% sure about that. You know, aside from my writing, I worked field campaigns for a long time, you know, 10 plus years knocking on doors here in Hudson County in New Jersey. And the media environment we live in now, you know, what's hot today that, you know, 800-point Dow Jones, 900-point Dow Jones, in 6 months, nobody's going to remember that. And if the economy is still not bad, you may end up, you know, fighting for your life in the Congress again. And what does the second half of a Trump term look like with absolutely no checks? You know, we're losing them every day now anyway, but to think about how scary it is now. Picture when they have 2 years worth of log jams in the courts, you know, and no Veterans Affairs Administration, and no EPA, and no HHS, and nobody watching our nuclear stockpiles, and, you know, no laws against corruption for people who are dealing with overseas entities. And DOJ have access to our classified information. Picture what this country looks like in 4 years, which is why we have to stand up now and end this now, because we don't have time. The clock is ticking, and Trump has just been given carte blanche to do whatever he wants for the next 4 years and maybe beyond. You worked with him, you know him better than anybody. I've met him a few times. Doesn't seem like the kind of guy who wants to leave office willingly. I don't know, maybe that's just me, or maybe I watched TV on January 6th and didn't get any spin on it. But
oh no, you're right. I mean, this is a man who is deeply unsatisfied, a very unhappy, miserable individual. And I say this all the time, like he's been running from himself his whole life. So, you know, anything that makes him confront the truth is not something he wants to do. Listen, help us get him out of power now. Go to nowmarch.org. If you haven't already, press the join now button to let us know if you'll be there. And especially right now, you can help us make this happen financially, even if it's just a few dollars. If you all do it, it will make a huge difference. You can press the donate button also in the description below. I just wanted to mention, you know, you're talking about what Democrats think they're going to be able to pull off in 2 years or 4 years. And I couldn't be more right there with you. First of all, if this election was even right this time. And I saw someone in the chat say, please check out Nathan from Election Truth Alliance. I will remind new viewers of Lights On that I am the one that platformed Nathan at Election Truth Alliance for the first time, actually the weekend that we had 14th Now back in January. So Michael, our viewers here on Lights On know that I have been fearless in covering election anomalies from election security experts, voter suppression investigative journalists like Greg Palast, you know, not being gaslit into thinking that if we talk about election integrity, we are Stop the Steal 2.0 or Rudy Giuliani. Actually, every healthy democracy conducts election hygiene, and the fact that we didn't, and we think that we're just going to be heading in 2 years or 4 years into an unmanipulated election is, you know, wishful thinking at best. But, you know, I also agree with you that the Democrats, like, they don't have the support. They don't have the support right now. People are looking for spine. They're looking for courage. They're looking for a hero. I titled my show on Friday, Show Me a Hero. Like, if they took this action, they might actually have hope.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish Bernie Sanders had a time machine, because he's really having a moment right now. But, you know, he's getting up there. I don't know if he's going to have it in him to run for president in 4 years. And we need to win the Congress. We need to win the Senate. And we need legal authority to stop Trump on all fronts, because he's not going to stop unless he's stopped. We learned absolutely nothing from the last 2 months, when in November we were pounding on doors and telling people we're right, they're wrong, and we still lost, even though we had I think as Democrats sometimes, and even just in politics in general, when we think we have right behind us or some divine um, mandate that we think we're going to win elections. And it's shown that we're not, that the Democrats are missing the mark on something. And Donald Trump has captured something that people from both sides, because here in Hudson County, we had some of the lowest turnout we've ever had in presidential race. And we had very, very, very dense Latino communities voting, doubling Trump's number from 2016. So there's definitely something wrong there. There's a message that Donald Trump has that the Democrats either need to mimic or come up with a better idea, because this whole holier than now, pearl clutching, we're right, oh my God, the norms of democracy, people have it really good. They don't know what it's like not to have a democracy, but they're going to lose it if they don't pay attention. And with the way that people get their news now in their own echo chambers or universes or whatever you want to call it, many people don't know that 80,000 people are going to be fired from the VA, that most of those people are probably disabled veterans, that a third of all federal workers are veterans, that these are people who sacrificed their lives, went overseas, saw their friends died, then they came home to find a job by the grace of God. And this just isn't people who work in offices. These are people at the Department of Labor there was one veteran I talked to, Will, I won't say his last name, but he's very popular. He's with the AFL-CIO, and he was living in his car, and the Department of Labor gave him a chance at a construction job, and it saved his life. And now those jobs are on the chopping block, and he was getting other veterans into that program. There are police officers with the VA, with the FBI police, FBI agents who are veterans, who are all being threatened by a bully in the White House because he doesn't care about veterans. He doesn't care about non-veterans. He just cares about power. And he has a few proteges with him, a guy named Elon Musk now, who's set to be the world's first trillionaire, and J.D. Vance, who I don't know who he ran for or if he even knows what he's doing. But he's just going to follow the same Trump playbook, just to be cruel and mean to our allies, abandon our allies, give the Russian talking points. And, that seems to work for them.
Yeah, we have a Russian asset sitting in our White House, which, by the way, our next guest, our 14.co organizer, Cliff Cash, can tell you all about. And I'm sure he will be happy to remind all of our viewers about that when he comes on. I mean, he's literally running around DC. He's got these billboard trucks in DC, Cliff does, that say, Donald loves Vladimir. Donald loves Vladimir.
Oh,
if you guys look closely at the screen.
Vladimir loves him. There's nobody making Vladimir Putin more happy in 2025 than Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I can tell you that much.
It's unthinkable. It's unthinkable the way that our role in the free world has been usurped by Russian hacks. It is
just
truly unthinkable.
Just broke tonight that Poland's gonna start training men for their own selective service because they don't know if Russia's gonna invade them. I mean, we're back to 1938 here in Europe with no American leadership on the other side of the pond waiting to come save the day. I'm not saying there's going to be a war in Europe, but there is way more of a chance of being a war in Europe now than there was before Joe Biden and Kamala Harris left office. Not that they were the bee's knees and the answer to all ills, but much better for the world and much better for the security of the world than what we have now.
Yeah, at least we weren't siding with North Korea and Russia at the UN, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, listen, we are getting ready. Michael, that this kind of thing is like no sleep kind of intense work that we have been involved in and preparing, lining up speakers like you. So honored. I got one of the first video speeches today that we're going to play on Friday by one of our speakers who can't be in person. It just kind of gave me chills. It gave me chills thinking about what we're going to be doing on Friday. Just to clarify, because some people have been asking questions. They say, oh, there's veterans marches. We are the Veterans March and Now DC are one and the same. If you see any of these logos, even if you see a logo put out by Cliff that looks a little bit different for Veterans on Friday, we are all together. The Veterans March and Now DC is one and the same. We'll be on the National Mall between 4th and 6th Streets. That space holds thousands of people, and we have to pay for a sound system to make sure you guys can all hear us and see us. So obviously that costs a lot of money. We could really use your financial support. You can do that. You can help us at nowmarch.org, nowmarch.org. And again, the Veterans March and the Now DC event are one and the same. Rally for we the people to claim our power, to demand Donald Trump's illegal presidency end now. And absolutely now. Now, some of you may have been seeing some social media posts about 50 state veteran rallies. Those are not promoted by us simply because our goal here is to get as much energy as possible to Washington, D.C. Obviously, everybody is free to demonstrate as they wish, and I absolutely hope that they do. Our massive goal, though, for 314 is really to encircle the institutions of power in D.C., Capitol Hill, the White House, and make our presence in the nation's capital unmistakable. So I hope that you will join me and Michael and Cliff and so many other amazing speakers and really veterans on Friday in Washington, D.C. Michael, what do you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I would just, implore everybody to check out the website. I think that this is an incredibly important moment in our history. I think for people like me and Jessica, this is going to be the story of our lives. What did we do to try to save democracy? What did we do to try to save the republic? And it starts with saving the veterans' jobs who are being fired and who are going to be sent to unemployment, and their VA loans are going to default, and American taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill, and not Elon Musk, who's going to get trillions in tax breaks. And I'm sure some of that will trickle down. Trickle down economics does work from Elon to Donald Trump. So what I would say is get out there, make your voices heard, whether you do a 50 state march. We'd like you to come to DC, jump on the Amtrak. I can tell you they don't check tickets all the time. So if you can't afford it, just keep changing cars.
Yeah, I love it.
And, get down there.
Yeah, make a sacrifice. Just talking earlier with Dean about that. Like, we just have to make little sacrifices. The sacrifices that are being asked of us right now are so small compared to the sacrifices we're going to have to make if we lose our democracy for good. So take that risk with us. It's a wonderful place to be. We're going to do it fearlessly, peacefully, and unfriggin' mistakably on Friday. So thank you so much, Michael. Really pleasure to meet you, and can't wait to meet you in person.
Jessica, thank you. What you're doing makes a real difference, and it will save lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So everybody, if you have not done this yet, please subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel where you're watching this. Lights On is the home for action. It's the only reason I continue to do a podcast or have a podcast at all, is because I have something to give you to do, to share with you, to save us. It's the only reason I do it. So the best way to make sure that message gets out, that people are involved in that action with us and truly embracing the power of we the people, which is so desperately needed right now, is by sharing Lights On and subscribing. Please also turn on your notifications, cost absolutely nothing. And we're getting, like I tell the Lights On viewers, I don't like talking about numbers too much, but we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. Thanks to you. I just say it to express my absolute gratitude for you being on this journey with me and being involved. So please subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. And as you know, the purpose, we're totally transparent about this live stream tonight, is to raise money for Now DC, for our veterans march on Friday, our march for we the people against the coup. You can do that at nowmarch.org, nowmarch.org. QR code on the screen, and the donate button is right there on the website and in the description below to this video. So our guest, who I see in the green room of our virtual studio right now, you know him, you love him. He has been doing an absolute phenomenal job of promoting what he is calling Descend on DC this week and weekend, starting on Friday the 14th. Cliff Cash, welcome back to Lights On.
Hello. How's
Hello.
it going? Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. What's on your mind, my friend? What's on your mind?
Oh, so many things. Mostly that I should probably sleep and drink some water.
I've been trying to do that too. It hasn't been working out very well, but I've been trying.
Yeah, I know a lot of us that are doing this work are exhausted. And I think the first thing that I would love to say to your listeners is a lot of my fans and followers are saying to me online, thank you so much for speaking up. Thank you so much for using your voice and speaking bluntly to these people, about these people. And I just want to tell everybody, you can do that too. I'm not a political science professor. I'm not a politician. I'm not any type of leader or elected official. I'm just a person. Jessica's a very impressive person, but both of us we're just people. And you can do this too. You can start a YouTube channel. You can start a social media. You can just make videos saying the exact same thing I'm saying. I don't mind one bit. You can copy them verbatim if you want to and put them on your own channels and platforms. But this is what it takes. Nobody's coming to save us. The Democratic Party has shown us that. I mean, 10 of them censored their own fellow Democrat for having the spine to speak up during the State of the Union.
Unbelievable, Cliff. That censure vote was sick.
So, we can't count on these people. Not to say that they're bad people, but they clearly. Here's the thing. I don't think anybody thought Donald Trump would win. Nobody who really has a pulse on politics and political sentiment in this country, which I consider myself to have that pulse. Uh, I consume probably 20 hours a week of political news, and I don't consume nonsense. When all the Trump trials were going on, I was counting on people like Andrew Weissman to give me information. This is the former in-house counsel for the FBI. I don't listen to idiots. I don't listen to people like Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro because they're idiots. I listen to people that know what they're talking about. And I thought there was literally zero chance of Donald Trump winning. And I think I was right about that because I don't believe that he won. I don't
You and
believe
me,
that
my
it's
friend.
real.
You and
I
me.
don't I don't believe it's real. I don't believe that his support is real. I don't believe the poll numbers are real. None of it. And we see that even with this State of the Union address, it had less viewership than any of his previous State of the Union addresses or any of Biden's State of the Union addresses. His inauguration had less viewership than his first inauguration and 27% less viewership than Biden's inauguration. He didn't win. He doesn't have the support he pretends to. He doesn't have the support that you're afraid that he has. Okay?
Well
This
put.
is a weak man pretending to be strong. That's what weak men do. Control over others is weakness disguised as strength. So I know that a lot of you are scared to put a sign in your yard. You're scared to post on social media. You're scared to talk about it at work. And I want to encourage you to stop being scared because fear is the fuel that fascists run on. If America runs on Duncan, fascists run on fear. And if you're afraid, you're giving them exactly what they want. And I know that it's a treacherous and tumultuous and crazy time. But even if you're afraid, you move forward anyway. Being brave doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you're a little afraid and you do the hard thing anyway. Everybody needs to do that. We don't want to be doing this. Me and Jessica don't want to be spending this weekend in DC and spending thousands of dollars on rental cars and hotels and flights and all of that. We don't want to do it. We're doing it because this is going to be the end of American democracy if the American people don't stand up and fight it. And our military and military intelligence and Congress has shown us they don't have a plan, they don't have direction, and they don't have the backbone and gumption to do this. We're gonna have to do it for them, and hopefully count on them to follow our lead once we've begun. So sorry that was long winded, but I just want to encourage everybody to stand up and show up and speak up.
It's the motto of this show, stand out. Standouts from Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. He talks about how it's uncomfortable, might be uncomfortable, but to be the first one to stand up and stand out. But once you do it, others follow. And that's what you have done, Cliff. That's what I have intended to do on this show. It's what I know all of our organizers at 14th Now have done. Tim at Sons of Liberty, major shout out to him for all of the coalition that he has with us, with the veteran community. That's what we're doing, and others will follow. And that's in the rule book to save democracy, folks. So you
Totally.
got to do it. You got to do it.
And there's so many people that are like, I mean, a lot of us, and I'm not tooting my horn. I I can't help it. Like, I just have to do this.
Yep.
I don't want to. I really
Yep.
do not want
I
to.
know.
And I'll be completely honest with you.
Yep.
If this is I care deeply about racial equality and bigotry and homophobia and equal rights and all of the environment, all of it. I
Yep.
care deeply about that. But the Republicans have been attacking all those things for decades. That's the honest truth. They just
Yeah.
have. If it was just a normal old Republican administration doing really despicable stuff, but like somewhat standard, probably won't end democracy, I would still fight. I would still talk a lot of shit, but I wouldn't be working 13 hours a day, every day against it. The reason I'm fighting as hard as I'm fighting is it's not just all those things. It is all of those things, and that is bad enough. But this is a deliberate dismantling of American democracy. And that's not a theory, that's their words. Project 2025 is literally a blueprint to dismantle democracy, and they're not making it a secret. This is the end of the United States as we all know it. And I know that none of us love the status quo. I don't love the status quo. I don't love school shootings and expensive
Yeah.
health care and wealth inequality. I want to tear it all down and start over.
Yeah.
But as much as you might hate the status quo, you're going to miss it like crazy when it's gone, because what they're going to replace it with is 1,000 times worse than you could probably imagine.
Yeah, it is, Cliff. Yeah, it is. I mean, look at Russia. I know this is your favorite subject. It's the subject of your website. Plug to Cliff's website, donaldlovesvladimir.com. Donaldlovesvladimir.com. Cliff sent me this picture today. I was wanting to see it in person, and I can't wait to on Friday. donaldlovesvladimir.com. Billboard trucks are running around DC. So if you're already in the DC area, you got to snap a picture of Cliff's truck and send it to one of us, tag us. But you can support Cliff's work that he's been doing, because he's doing these massive promo efforts at donaldlovesvladimir.com. And as a reminder, you can support the massive production that we have to put on Friday at nowmarch.org, nowmarch.org. So Cliff, obviously 314 is the big day. We're getting people from around the country. We're getting veterans from around the country, but I know you're planning on staying the weekend, and I think we're probably going to be there with you. Tell us what's going on the 15th and 16th.
So on the 15th, what I think needs to happen is a four-part attack, for lack of a better word, a four-part game plan. Part of that was the Veterans March. I presented this idea to Jessica. She said, I agree, it's a great idea. Let's combine it with the 314 March, and we'll, two birds, one stone. We'll try and get bigger numbers. My feeling is that the American people need to see veterans protesting fascism. All of the American people holistically need to know that there are thousands and thousands of veterans who do not support Donald Trump, who do not support oligarchy and theocracy and treason, which is exactly what Donald Trump is committing.
Yep.
So that was one part of it. The other part is, and this is still in the works, I think there needs to be a petition slash oath slash pledge that circulates to active duty military. This needs to happen in a way that doesn't go against their rules. So it needs to be very nonpartisan and it needs to be very benign. But this needs to be a petition or an oath that active duty service members sign or reiterate their oath saying, I will not go against the United States Constitution. I took a pledge to the Constitution, not to one man. I will not use force against my fellow citizens. I will not go against democracy. I will support American allies and not American adversaries. If we could get these veterans to show up in mass and get the American people to see that, and then we get this petition circulating where tens of thousands of active duty people sign that, the optics of that, the narrative of that, the visual sort of cerebral aspect of people seeing and getting and processing what that means for this country, it would energize the left and the middle, anybody who's pro-democracy, and it would scare, rightfully so, the right, anybody that's pro-fascist and pro-theocracy and pro-Russia. They're pro-Russia is what they are.
Yes.
So that needs to happen. That is my next next goal. But this Saturday, the 15th at 12 noon, we're going to take it to Fox News. They have ignored these protests, these 50-51 protests in every state capital in the country, in every big city in the country have been happening, and they've happened on 2 different dates now, and tons of other protests, national park protests,
Yeah.
Tesla protests. The
Amazing
main
women's march this weekend. Stand up for
Exactly.
science. The Ukrainian flag, that massive Ukrainian flag spread out in DC. I just want to give a shout out to all the 50-51 people. Both of us are looped in with, like,
Totally.
these people are nonstop showing up
Totally.
for everything. Like, we got the news today of Mahmoud Khalil, and they were having a demonstration at DHS. They are like instant response, activists, and there's so much
awesome.
credit to everybody showing up,
It's
large and
awesome.
small numbers. Yeah.
And to remind the average viewer, when 50-51 planned that first protest, a lot of people were saying, don't go to this. We don't know who's
Yes,
organizing it. It's not
exactly.
safe. And a lot of us pro-democracy voices got on our platforms and said, no, fear is what fascists want. You show
Yep.
up and be loud. And those protests were awesome. The next ones were even bigger. And now is a very well-oiled machine and a very well-organized effort. But the media has ignored this. They've ignored all of these protests in large part, with the exception of maybe MSNBC mentioning it here and there.
Yep.
So what I want the average viewer to know, that is fascism. It's not fascism's coming. Fascism is here. When the media is failing to report nationwide protests in every large city in the United States, which is unprecedented, by the way. No president has been protested in every large city in the United States, and tons of small cities, by the way. It's unprecedented, especially in modern political history. For them to ignore that is the literal definition of fascism. These autocrats and oligarchs are chilling the media. They're scared of Trump. And my message to the media is, don't be scared of an elderly man with orange paint on his face who's shitting in his diaper. Be scared of the millions, the hundreds of millions of people that didn't vote for that. Because I promise you, we're more scary. When a million of us are outside your building, that's scarier than Donald Trump is. But on Saturday the 15th, we're going to take it to Fox News. We're going to be outside their windows. I have giant banners coming, 3 10-foot long banners that say,
Nice.
ignore us now, cowards. Fox and NBC are in the same building.
Yep.
All the media are more or less on that same block. So
Yep.
we want to fill that block. We want to have our signs, do your job, stop being cowards. This is fascism, fascist media takeover. Say whatever you want, but it needs to be media directed. And we're not going to make noise the entire time, but I want you to bring noisemakers, because at one point, for just a moment, once we're there, once we're all there and our crowd is as big as it can be, for maybe about 10 minutes, we're going to make more noise outside their office windows than anybody ever has, and they're not going to be able to ignore us. So if you got a little drum or a tambourine or a whistle or a horn or an air horn or whatever, and bring some earplugs because you're going to need them. We're going to make all this noise, and they're going to peek out the blinds, and it's going to be a sign that says, ignore us now, cowards. And it's not going to be one 10-foot sign. It's going to be 3 10-foot signs, plus all of you and all of your signs and all of your noise. And that's the message to them. And we're all going to have our phones out, and we're all going to be laughing and smiling and having a blast while we videotape each other. So even if they do decide to ignore us, we're all going to put this on our social media, thousands of us, and it's going to go viral worldwide. All right. That's Saturday, 12 noon, Fox News headquarters. That's 400 North Capitol Street.
Just to give people an idea, it's like, if you know where Union Station is, it's literally walking distance, like a block and a half from Union Station. I actually worked in the building that Cliff is talking about in college for Cox Broadcasting. Fox News is upstairs, MSNBC is downstairs. You'll see in the little courtyard, you can look right into MSNBC's windows where they do all their shows. It'll look very familiar to you if you've ever watched MSNBC. And then right up the street, just north of Union Station, is CNN. So it's literally all right there. And Cliff, you're going to have a party. I'm jealous.
The next day is Heritage Foundation at noon. That's
Yeah.
214 Massachusetts Avenue in DC. We're going to show up at their offices. I have three 10-foot banners coming that say "Remain Bloodless" in red letters with a question mark. Because in Kevin Roberts' book, he wrote about his plan, him and the other nerdy youth group incel dorks who don't even follow their own religion that they want to force on us. He wrote in his book about toppling democracy, about Project 2025. And in the book, he says, this revolution will remain bloodless if the left allows it. And I want to hold that guy to account because that's awful tough talk for somebody that looks to me like he couldn't punch his way out of a wet paper bag if he glued razor blades to his knuckles. This is not a tough guy. JD
Yeah.
Vance is not a tough guy.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is not a tough guy. Charlie Kirk is not a tough guy. Ben Shapiro's. None of these people are tough.
Guess who else isn't a tough guy? Enrique Tarrio isn't a tough guy. The Proud Boys are not tough guys.
Yeah,
These are
you're
like
so
little
proud
wimpy,
you cover your
tiny
faces.
little men.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're so proud they cover their faces. These people are soft, doughy, pencil arm, country club fascist pansies is what they are. And so I'm going to show up at Heritage
How do
Foundation.
you really feel, Cliff?
I am holding back because you asked me to not curse. I am holding back. If you go to my social media, you'll see I say meaner things. But I'm going to show up at Heritage Foundation and I'm going to publicly challenge Kevin Roberts to a debate and or a celebrity boxing match. If he would like to do that, we could do one before the other. But I want to challenge him to address the American people and tell the American people, tell these families, these hardworking families, these laid off federal employees, these fired veterans. I want him to tell them what he means by it remaining bloodless. I want him to answer to the American people on that question and to answer to me. So we're gonna give speeches out in front of the Heritage Foundation. We're gonna record that. We're gonna be right up on their door. We're gonna challenge them to come down and talk to us. And we there's gonna be some other mischief, but it's gonna be a peaceful protest.
Peaceful. Yeah.
But I do want these people to be uncomfortable because they are daily making the American people uncomfortable, and they deserve to feel that too. And I think it's time that the American people make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I love your willingness
Peacefully.
peacefully, 100 times, right? I love your willingness to get in this, Cliff, and get dirty and not pull punches because we can't afford to do that right now. And I would just reiterate, obviously, peacefully, be aware if there is any counter protest, which, by the way, Cliff and I can attest to, like, has been basically non-existent. Zero.
Because his support isn't real. It's not real.
Thank you.
They call themselves the silent majority. They're not. They're the loud minority.
Yep, 100%. 100%. But just be mindful to disengage. If anybody tries to provoke you, you disengage. We will have a lot of that on Friday in case, anybody needs to be reminded. We're going to have an Army drill sergeant safety MC to remind the crowd of that protocol constantly. And we're going to have, guess who is going to be our actual MC? Guess who? Yours truly, Cliff Cash. Going to be your MC on Friday. So if you love Cliff, you got to show up with us. Be there on Friday at 314 on the National Mall. As I've been mentioning throughout this show, it is a very expensive production. If you can help support us financially, please do that at nowmarch.org. Even a small contribution from a lot of people goes a long way. And we are so grateful for that. We have to pay for generators, porta potties, stages, staff, cameras, sound system, on and on. So it's a lot of expenses, as you can imagine, and we can only do it with you. Like Cliff said, we are literally just citizens. We're not a 501c. We're not anybody with massive financial backing. We're just people who don't know how to stand down in this moment. You can also support Cliff and what he's doing with these amazing banners by going to donaldlovesvladimir.com. donaldlovesvladimir.com. I love the massive signs. I love the billboard trucks. Please take pictures and tag us so we can see where these things are. So anyway, Cliff, I've got like all my devices collectively dying on me. So I want to stay with you and everybody for hours longer, but I think I'm going to have to wrap it soon. What do you have?
Let me just say one more thing to the
Yeah.
listeners, to the viewers. This only works if you help us make it work. So if you can donate to nowmarch.org, that's incredible. If you don't have a dime to spare, don't spend money you don't have. But what you could really do to help us is you can take that image. It's on the website. It's on all of our social media. You can take that. You can get on Facebook and just start searching Democrat Virginia Beach, Democrat Miami, Democrat Charleston, South Carolina. You find every Democratic political group you can, and you drop that into every group you can find. Post it on every one of your social media. Use all the hashtags you can think of that would be relevant. Post it on Blue Sky. Post it on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Uh, if everybody watching will take this flyer right here and make it your profile picture on every one of your social media platforms until next Monday, that alone could make a massive difference. If you've got 5,000 followers and 500 of them share it, I mean, this is just, it's the ripple effect. So please, please do that for us, because we can't do it on our own. We can only reach who we can reach. But if you'll take it and run with it, and don't just share it, put it in groups, email it to your close friends, send it especially to people that live within 3 or 4 hours of DC. Send it to really politically active people who live in or near DC. You can reach out to media on our behalf. You can just send that flyer and a little blurb from the website to DC media, national media, anything you think of that you can do that will help. We really, really appreciate it. That's the way we fight these people. We defeat fascism if we do it together.
Cliff, I gotta say, my friend, I love being in this fight with you. I'm so grateful we got to know each other a few months ago. And by the way, I've seen some people in the chat. They've said I was there with you in January. Shout out to our original 14th Now crew for coming out in the freezing, bitter cold in January and trying to stop this illegal coup before it started. You're the OGs. We love you so much. And Cliff, I genuinely believe we're gonna have thousands of people this time.
I do too. I'm excited.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you guys,
everybody,
for joining us so much tonight. I'll say it one more time, nowmarch.org. Nowmarch.org is where you can support this. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel. Lights On is the home for action. That's the only reason I do this show. And I can do it with your support and your audience, you being the audience, which means the absolute world to me. I'm here for you. So thank you so much for subscribing. If you want to support me individually in my own efforts and legal battle, you can do it at thejessicadenson.com/donate. Just filed a notice for appeal today in a very important case that is the reason that you know who I am, because I sued Trump pro se almost 8 years ago, and that case is ongoing. So if you want to support me, thejessicadenson.com/donate, nowmarch.org, and most importantly, like Cliff said, do the free things, subscribe, share the flyer everywhere, tell everybody in the world that you know about it, and to do everything in their power to get to DC this weekend and Friday, 3/14. Thank you so much. Love you all. As always, let your light shine.